Let's first look at some basic vocabulary in this introduction to Islam. So the word Islam itself is an Arabic word which means submission or surrender or obedience. Someone who follows this religion strives to surrender or submit their own will to that of God, make the will of God rule their life, God's will, God's ethic, God's laws become the supreme overriding purpose for a person who follows this religion. The word Islam is also closely related to another Arabic word, salam, which means peace and wholeness. Probably the roots of this connection comes from ancient kingdoms in which a peaceful relationship would occur by surrendering or submitting to the will of another king or emperor who would ask that tribute would be paid as a sign of this relationship of lord and underling, or lord and obedient or subservient kingdom. So you're in a peaceful relationship through this offering of tribute, offering of surrender to the overriding mastery or dominion of that other king or emperor. This is a religion of over 1 billion people, found in 5 continents. We can also say that the word surrender and peace are related in a theological sense for a follower of this religion, in the sense that one can only truly have inner peace if one surrenders their will to God. Then one is in harmony with the overriding purposes of the cosmos. And this in turn will create outer peace when human beings are striving together to do the will of God rather than their own will in the world. Now, the word Muslim is also an Arabic word, and this word in its basic sense means the same thing as Islam, whereas Islam named the idea of surrender, submission to the will of God. Muslim is a person who strives to surrender or submit their will to God, one who strives to obey the will of God in everything. So, in the big M sense, it is a follower of the worldwide religion of 1 to 1.5 billion people who follows this religion revealed by the Prophet Muhammad from about 610 CE to 632 CE in the cities of Mecca and Medina about 1400 years ago. And Muslims believe that this Muhammad is the messenger of the one and only God of the universe, and that this God revealed through Muhammad the Quran, which is the central scripture of Muslims. And this Quran is God's final word, testament, and revelation, and incorruptible, that cannot be changed or modified, and is perfectly preserved in the way it was given by Muhammad these past 1400 years. These are basic beliefs of most all Muslims. To confuse matters, we can take note that sometimes you hear the word Islamist used in the media, as well as these other words, radical Muslim or Islamic extremist. Now, the word Islamist is a Muslim who believes that the law and ethic of Islam should inform the government laws and policies of their country. And an Islamist works often as an activist to see that this ethic and law of Islam informs in a greater and greater degree the laws and policies of their country. Now, this can be done, is usually done in fact, in peaceful forms of activism, but sometimes Islamists will use more revolutionary tactics violent revolutionary tactics to try to press a country or form a country or take over a country for this to be done. Although in most cases it's done as a form of peaceful activism. Now, the word Islamist differs usually from the word radical Muslim or Islamic extremist. So some Islamists are radical Muslims or Islamic extremists, though certainly not most, since a radical Muslim or Islamic extremists are those Islamists that want the law and ethic of Islam to rule a geographical territory, but they're willing to do it in a violent way to make it happen, whereas the majority of Islamists are doing it in a peaceful way. So a radical Muslim or Islamic extremist, these are terms used in the media to designate people who interpret the religion in a way that says that it's okay and acceptable and even encouraged to use violent methods to reform or change a country or geographical period, or put pressure on other countries to make their land a land informed by Islamic ethics and laws. Now, many other Muslims might argue that the methodologies of radical Muslims, such as the groups of Boko Haram in the Nigeria area, as well as ISIS or ISIL in Syria and Iraq, these methods that they use are not part of the Islamic ethic and ideal at all. That Islamic law argues that targeting civilians, targeting women, targeting children goes against the Islamic law of how to enact warfare in a justified, ethical way. And by greatly compromising these ideals, they might risk actually being Muslims at all in their ends justify the means sort of tactics they use to achieve their political and military objectives. Let's briefly look at some Muslim demographics. So this war religion has 1 to 5 billion people around the world. We might say 1.3 billion people around the world who are found in just about every continent of the world. Which country has the most Muslims? Well, you might guess, say, Iraq or Egypt or Iran, or these so-called Middle Eastern Muslim majority countries might have the most Muslims. But however, the most populated, or the countries with the most Muslims, are actually the first 4 are what we'd call non-Middle Eastern countries. Number 1, Indonesia and Southeast Asia. Number 2 and 3, Pakistan and Bangladesh, part of South Asia. Number 4, Nigeria in Central West, slightly Northern Africa. And not until we get to 5 do we have Egypt, usually considered an Arab country in the Middle East. 6, Iran, a non-Arab country, yet often considered part of the geographical region called the Middle East. 7, Turkey, also non-Arab, but a Muslim majority country. 8, Sudan in North Africa, largely but not exclusively speaking Arabic. Number 9, Algeria, also North Africa. Number 10, Morocco in Northwest Africa. We have Iraq. And 12, Afghanistan. Let's look at where these countries are. And so we have in Indonesia and Southeast Asia, far from the place where Islam was founded 1400 years ago by Muhammad, in what is now the country Saudi Arabia. And then we have Pakistan, Bangladesh, and South Asia with very large Muslim population. Now India has a huge Muslim population as well, but this is, since the majority of Indians are Hindus, it'd be hard to say that this is the Muslim majority country with the largest population, Muslim minority country, but with a huge, maybe 150 to 250 million Muslims in the entirety of India, which is close to the amount of Muslims in Indonesia or the amount of Muslims in Nigeria. We have Turkey here, speaking a non-Arab language. We have Egypt here, Algeria, Morocco with large Muslim majority populations, Syria and Iraq, Iran right here, Nigeria, and west, central, slightly north, Africa, a very large Muslim population. So most Muslims in the world are not Arab nor live in Arabian countries. So if you randomly pick a Muslim in the world and you meet them, the probability is that he or she is not Arab nor from an Arabian country. There's two main divisions or branches of Muslims, the Sunni and the Shia. The Sunni are in areas of light green, so the grand majority of the Muslim majority countries, while the dark green are the Shia, who follow a different line of succession from Prophet Muhammad, and they are the dark green. So you can see Iran is one of the few countries that have a Shia majority population of their Muslim population. Afghanistan has a strong presence of Shiites, though their majority are Sunnis. Iraq is said to have a slight majority of Shias. And then we have Lebanon and Syria having large Shia presences as well. Yemen, and you often hear in current days news of the different factions of groups fighting for control of Yemen, including a Shia faction there. See some of the famous structures connected with Islam and represent something of its geographical distribution. We have the Mali Mosque in North Africa. We have the Cordoba Mosque Cathedral. Sometimes it's been a cathedral, sometimes it's been a mosque in its history, and that's in Spain. And Muslims ruled and dominated Spain for hundreds of years. And we have the structure that's the heart of the origins of Islam in Western Saudi Arabia, the Kaaba, found in Mecca.